Okay, so we are going to talk about the upcoming personal memoir assignment. Remember, this is going to be in two parts. I have posted the assignment in the handout form, so you can certainly read through that, and it'll have all the details for the assignment. At the end of the assignment sheet, there's also a little bit of information about the 6-word memoir that you're going to write in the part A of this assignment. So for this video, we're going to be talking about the personal memoir, the different parts, how to approach it, and how to go through the steps to write this essay. So I'm very excited about it because I think it's going to be a chance for you to do something that's a little different from the kind of mundane research and some of the more typical papers that you'll write in a college class. But for this, I just wanted you to have a good time and be able to do something that's a little personal and possibly have some fun with it. So hopefully you'll enjoy the journey of writing your personal memoir. So to start with, I just want to go over sort of what a memoir is, how to approach it, and just kind of, in case you're not sure what this is, just kind of go over some of the pieces and parts to it. So first of all, a memoir is an essay that's centered on a significant memory from your past, and you're going to write it in first person, and it's kind of reflective on what you feel about that memory. The essay will detail the memory, and it'll explain how and why it is meaningful to you. It'll also include some information about the influence of the memory and what that's had on your life. And finally, it is important to illustrate the significance of the memory through your writing, and you want to have engaging details so that your reader will sort of go along on the journey with you, and it's a way for you to reflect, but to also share with your reader. So to get started, some pre-writing activities, you may want to try to create a list of significant memories from your past, something that may be a story that you tell over and over, or something that you reflect on a lot. I am using the picture for this this assignment because I think that just helps sort of center your ideas and sort of gives you something that's very tangible to start with, so that you have something to write about. I do realize that some of you, not everybody has a bunch of pictures just sitting around or in a phone somewhere. I do offer the option that if you don't have a picture of the memory, but maybe you have an object, maybe something that someone handed down to you, or a memory that's actually not a picture but it's a thing, you can take a picture of that and then use that for your memoir. But I'm hoping that most of you will be able to take a picture that you have that sort of helps tell the story. You want to look for events that have stayed in your mind throughout the years and something that has a personal meaning to you. So you want to pick something that is special. And I think that helps you write the memoir more efficiently, and it keeps you interested. You want to choose a memory to analyze and to interpret, and that's what you're sharing with your reader. So think of it this way. It's not so much about the physical picture. It's not so much about exactly what may have happened in the picture, but it's sort of how you've reflected upon that memory, and that's how you incorporate that into the memoir writing. Some ways that you can approach telling this story is you can obviously do it in a chronological order. A memoir is much like a narrative. They're very similar in the way you approach the writing. And a narrative and a memoir have a sort of a beginning, a middle, and an end. But sometimes when we tell stories, we don't start at the very beginning. So you can use reverse chronological order. You can sort of start with the end and then kind of reverse back away from the end and sort of tell the story from the beginning. You can also do it in a flashback. This is where the narrative begins in the present, and then you move back to the past. So an example of that might be an engagement picture. Someone has gotten engaged, and then they're sort of reflecting on the first time they met that person, or the first date. So it may not be so much about the ring on the finger, but it's more telling the story of what that ring means as the relationship moves forward. Okay, so when you write the personal memoir, you're going to focus on one event, and in this case you're going to focus on that photograph or that object. We're going to start with part A, and I'm having you write a 6-word memoir. This is why it's so important for you to read the handout that I've supplied to you for the assignment information. At the end of that handout, I have an explanation of what a 6-word memoir is and sort of the history of what a 6-word memoir is with some samples so that you can kind of read through those. There's also a link that you can click on to read some additional 6-word memoirs. But basically a 6-word memoir is just where you take 6 words to tell the story of your life, or in this case the story of a picture. So to begin this project, you're going to turn in a 6-word memoir plus a reflective paragraph to sort of tell me how you got to those 6 words and the process and what those 6 words mean. Also at the end of this PowerPoint, I've given you a picture, sort of a personal picture from my life, and I'm going to show you how I came up with some 6-word memoir options, just to show you how you can sort of have fun with it. The 6-word memoir, that doesn't tell the whole story, but it's a way for you to sort of play around with the words, be a little creative, and also think about the memory itself and what that significance is to you, because I'm sort of forcing you to just come up with 6 words, and then from those 6 words you're going to expand the story to the full story. Every detail in your essay should support the memory, the memorable event from the photo that you've chosen, or the object if you choose not to use a photo. You want to make it clear to the reader when and where the action takes place, and also the significance of it to you. So that's where the reflection comes in as you write it. So we're not doing a, kind of a process essay where you say, I woke up, then I brushed my teeth, and then I went to the prom, and I danced at the prom, and I came home. We're more reflecting on what happened that made the memory special. Oftentimes, if it's and I hope you don't choose just to write about the prom, but if that was the case, you wouldn't really reflect so much on the prom, but you may reflect on a friendship or something kind of crazy that happened or something that unfortunate happened. So you want to focus less on the mundane part of the story, the task part of the story, and more about the significance of the story, of why it's special. You also want to use vivid descriptions so that the people and places in your story stand out to the reader, because you have to remember that your reader wasn't there with you, and so you have to draw a picture for them with your words. And there are a couple ways that you can do that. So you can make people and places come alive by including a combination of action, thoughts, dialogue, and the 5 senses. Sensory details are very important when you tell a story, especially in a narrative or memoir format, because you have to remember your reader wasn't there. You may not share the same kind of way of thinking with your reader. So if you use sensory details, that's something that a lot of us share because they're common to all of us. So you want to look at the 5 details of smell, sound, touch, feel, taste, and sight. So these are all things that, for the most part, we would share and have commonalities with. So one example I have for that is, like, recently there's been a lot of discussion about the Popeyes chicken sandwich versus the Chick-fil-A sandwich. And so if someone who has eaten a Chick-fil-A sandwich but has never eaten a Popeye sandwich, they may wonder, hey, what's the same about it or what's different about it? And so if someone was describing how it tasted, they would probably use sensory details to describe the Popeyes chicken sandwich. So, for instance, they may use description about the crispiness of the breading. They might talk about the hot spices, how that compares to Chick-fil-A. They may describe the bun. There's a texture to the bun that may be different or the same as Chick-fil-A. So we often, when we use sensory details, we're trying to find something that someone already understands. In North Carolina, we often say a Carolina blue sky, and that's because we're very accustomed to UNC Tar Heels and that color of blue. Now, I would say that there's an East Carolina sky, and that's sort of a purple sky, just because I'm a little partial to ECU. But oftentimes we do find things that we feel like the people we're communicating with will understand, and sensory details, that's a great way to go with that. You want to try to avoid choosing traumatic events such as death or illness when you write this type of essay. Most of the time, a memoir is centered on more of a reflective essay. And I would say if you have a loved one who has passed away and that's something that's memorable to you as far as how their life was, your memoir would work much better if you chose a picture from when they were alive. Maybe a special memory, fishing with a grandfather or baking or cooking with a grandmother. Something that's significant that can be shown in a picture. Just focusing on a funeral or death, sometimes it's difficult to write that without sort of falling flat with it. A lot of people have been to funerals, a lot of people have experienced loss and experienced illnesses that are tragic, but it's sometimes difficult to reflect properly in a memoir format with that and to sort of get that message across to your reader. But it's much easier to reflect on a memory that's significant that comes through in that picture. So, I know a lot of us have people who we've lost that we love so much and we want to honor them through writing, but you would honor them much more effectively if maybe you reflected on a memory versus just the death or just the sadness of the illness. So consider that when you're choosing your memoir topic, and try to just steer clear of just the death or just the illness, and try to concentrate on the actual memories from the person if you're going to kind of go in that direction. When you end your essay, you want to make it clear to the reader why the event was significant. People don't read your mind, and even though you have the memory and it's very significant for you personally, it's your job as the writer to make sure that that memory is properly written so that anybody can pick it up and understand your feelings about it. So you have to use these details, you have to draw a picture for the reader, and you have to sometimes just communicate the effective significance of that memory. Okay, when you begin the memoir writing process, we're going to use a picture, and that's going to serve as the basis for a memoir. We're next going to write the 6-word memoir assignment, which is very quick, just 6 words, the picture, and then the reflective paragraph. The 6-word memoir is part of kind of a special movement that has sort of happened in the last few years, and it's where writers just tell their story in 6 words. It's very short and sweet, very effective, very succinct. And it's kind of a fun thing to do because it does, if you're not a super creative person, it does kind of cause you to have to be a little creative because you only have the 6 words to tell the whole story. So you're going to choose a special picture or an object if you don't have a picture to represent your memory. And then you're going to write the 6-word memoir about the picture. And finally, you're going to produce the memoir essay based on the picture and the 6-word memoir. So I sort of wanted to show you a picture from my life and sort of explain the significance and how I might approach this assignment using this picture. I did actually give you guys 2 versions of the picture, and that's just so you can see me now with my husband and then on our first date. So the picture on the left side of the screen, I was in a sorority in college. I went to East Carolina. I was an Alpha Xi Delta, and we had these formals that we would have to go to, and we would have to get a date. And I really wasn't the type of girl that really wanted a boyfriend, so I just sort of wanted someone to walk in with, and then I didn't want to have to keep up with them for the rest of the night. So we had a formal cocktail kind of party happening, and I had to get a date for it. And I didn't have a boyfriend, didn't want a boyfriend, but I needed someone who could wear a suit to this event. So I was friends with this guy, I kind of knew him a little bit, and I went up to him and I said, "Hey, do you own a suit?" And he said he did. And I said, "Okay, well then you need to get the suit and then you need to have it ready to go to this party with me and be my date." So he agreed to do it, and honestly, I really just thought I would just walk in the door with him and just leave him on his own and just, say I had a date but continue to have fun on my own. Well, this picture was taken, and this was back in the days we didn't have like the cell phones like we do now where you just take a picture and you can kind of tell by the quality. But one of my sorority sisters took this picture. We were sitting on a chair waiting for our ride to get there. We were riding with someone else, and this was sort of our first date, and honestly, I thought that that would be, I'd probably see him again, but, nothing special. And then we went to the event and, had a good time. Well, this December, I'll be married to that date for 29 years. So that date kind of turned into something bigger than I ever thought it would. And so if you look at the picture on the right side, that was, I think it was last year, we had that taken on our anniversary. So it just kind of shows you that a first date sometimes can turn into other things. So that's a significant memory for me. It's something that started out, if I wrote a memoir about it, I'd probably write about the story of, kind of asking him just did he have a suit. I didn't care if he wanted to go or not. I didn't care if he was my boyfriend, and I didn't really care about the date part of it. I just really wanted somebody to walk in the door with that had a suit, because I just knew that was sort of what I needed to attend the event. So I think if I wrote a memoir, I would probably center it around, you sort of never know what's going to happen with the most simple things that you choose to do in life. So I wrote a couple of 6-word memoirs based on this picture, just to sort of show you how you can play around with the words. So the first one is girl meets boy and marries him. So that's probably my favorite one, just because I kind of like him and I kind of chose to keep him. And the next one is first date turns into a lifetime, because we have spent a lot of time together. We were 18 when we met, so we were very young, and then kind of built a life after that. And then look how far we've come, because we have been married a long time. So I consider a memoir just on this picture and how it did turn into more than just a date. Love lasts past the first date. I think many of us go on first dates and we're like that, we're never going to see him again. And then in my case, I just kind of never got rid of him. He was always part of my life. And then college formal date becomes my husband. So any of those 6-word memoirs could turn into an actual essay that I could write out of reflection, and a significant memory from that night, and also build a story around it. So I just wanted to share with you that this is something that can be done. I think you can have fun with it. If you do have any questions, please email me. I'll be glad to walk you through it. And I hope that this PowerPoint sort of helped you understand the assignment and understand the memoir. And I will be posting some other things along the way that just to try to help you get through this. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with the 6-word memoirs coming up, and I look forward to see what you do with your essay.